Welcome back to another episode of the Rocking Midlife Podcast. And I'm always a little excited when I get a gentleman joining me on the podcast because we do tend to have more women due to the focus of the Rocking Midlife group, which is a female group. But men go through midlife too, like duh, right? So I'm particularly excited to have Ross Hewitt with me today, coming all the way from Florida. So welcome, Ross.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
I'm thrilled to have you here, and I'm so looking forward to being inspired by your journey in midlife and some of the things that you've learned that I know are going to be such an encouragement for our audience. So before we dive in, I just want to encourage everybody who's listening, please make sure to share, to subscribe, to leave a great review so that other midlifers, people in their 40s, 50s, 60s and beyond can find this episode and also be encouraged. Okay, Ross, the big question. First of all, everybody, this is Ross Hewitt, who is the executive producer of Chris the Cat Productions. So over to you, Ross. Give us the history of who Ross is.
When I was younger, I played Tiny Tim in a production of Scrooge. I was 8 years old.
Oh, how cool.
And hooked on theater and storytelling from then. But I was also a very bright kid. And I ended up becoming the valedictorian of my high school class. And
oh, well done.
Next thing you know, I'm in medical school becoming a doctor.
Wow.
So I did that for many years, but all the while knowing that I would keep my hand in theater. And so I would do, mostly as an actor, a production maybe once or twice a year. And to do a show, it's 4 to 6 weeks of rehearsal and usually another 3 or 4 weeks of performance. So it's a good couple of months. And it's not like I wasn't doing anything. I was really busy.
Yeah, I was just going to say, you did that while having a medical career.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
So that's how driven I guess I am. And I loved it. I just had a blast doing that. And in my travels, I also realized I wanted to get into writing. And so I wrote my first play that was thankfully produced in New York State, then set it aside for a while. And then I decided to go back to it because there were other stories I wanted to tell. And I wrote some other plays, short and long, and got another one produced. And then one of my friends was like, hey, I'm in this writers group in New Jersey. Why don't you join us? Sometimes we do all these different things. I'm like, okay. And so I end up joining that. And next thing you know, I find myself writing short stories and doing these prompt exercises where they just give you an idea and then you run with it. And one of these prompts was, the theme was Iceland. I didn't know anything about Iceland.
I was just going to say, that's a little random, but okay.
I have a little bit of a Scandinavian background in my family history, but other than that, none of it's Icelandic. So I thought, okay, well, if I'm going to write about this, I better do some research. So I looked up folk tales from Iceland, and there was a folk tale about a commoner who brings a cat to the king's castle, and the king is so grateful to the commoner for having solved his rat problem that he offers him either land or his daughter's hand in marriage. And the commoner didn't take too long to decide he was going to take the daughter because ultimately he ended up becoming king himself. And it's kind of a story of good old Scandinavian practicality, I think. Just do the sensible thing.
The people who bought us IKEA. Yep. Good practical furniture. You're right.
So I was raised with 13 cats.
Wow.
And so I thought to myself, what happened to the cat? And there was my idea.
Ah, okay. Is this where we got Chris the Cat from, or am I jumping the story here?
That is exactly where Chris the Cat came from. So I wrote this little short story called Chris the Cat, and I sent it in to the Icelandic festival, which was supposed to be held in California. Then COVID canceled it. So it never got published. It never went anywhere. But I wrote another story called The Alligator and the Catfish. And it's, again, same kind of thing, except this time it was all animal characters set in the Mississippi River, and it has kind of an environmental theme. And it got published in an online journal, and I sent out a nice Facebook announcement. And one of my playwright friends who had started writing screenplays said, "Oh, you got to make a movie about this." I'm like, "A movie?
How
Oh,
cool.
what am I going to do? How am I going to do that?" So I know that I can't make a movie of that. Not the first attempt. It would be too much. What did I have in my little bag that I could pull out and make a little short film on? And then I thought, Chris the Cat. So I named my production company Chris the Cat Productions, because I had to create one. And next thing you know, I'm off and running by the seat of my pants how to make an animated film. And that's how it all came together. Luckily, I had plenty of contacts through theater, and they led me to other people. I found an animator that I could afford in the Philippines, very talented artist who drew the entire film.
Wow.
He drew 80 different backgrounds for 13-minute film.
Goodness.
And along with the characters, animation of those characters, etc. So it was quite a journey for him as well. I put together a creative team with a director. We casted because there was dialogue in the film. So we hired actors, and in the middle of COVID, we went into a recording studio and recorded the dialogue with masks on and COVID productions fully in place.
Oh my goodness.
Jumped through all the hoops of the actors union to do that. And then most of the rest of it was in the hands of our animator. And after that was done, the hand of our musician, because I quickly realized it was much better to create original music than to try to get copyright permission.
Were you still working as a doctor during this time?
Yeah, I was.
Oh my goodness. And during COVID as well.
Yes, I worked for the New York City Health Department. So yes, I worked as a doctor during COVID. About a year and a half ago, the film is now in the hands of the animator, and I decided to retire. So I retired, and 11 months after I retired, the film was finished. So now I had the job of submitting it to film festivals, taking the next step with the film, because I really wanted people to see it, and especially kids, because I wrote it for kids.
Well, that is wonderful, and so amazing that you've gone from, medical career to this fully artistic expression, in your case through screenwriting and film. So why has this happened at midlife? Why isn't that something you raced and did in your youth? Do you think your age has had some impact in taking this risk and this journey?
Well, when I loved both things, right? I love the idea of taking care of people, and I love the idea of creating art. But practically, I had a feeling that taking care of people was going to pay my bills a lot better. And so I think I just took really the safe route. And I knew a lot of actors who were bartending and waiting tables, and I love them, I respect them, but I just couldn't see myself doing that. So I made the conscious decision to work as a doctor, do arts on the side as long as I could, keep my finger in it somehow. And when the time was right, move into it full time. And that's pretty much what I've been able to do. And I'm 63 now. And so I asked my financial guy, could I do this? And he said, yeah, you need to work maybe 2 days a week. Can you do that? Yeah, I can do that. So I found a little 2-day-a-week job, a completely remote job where I can travel and just have my laptop with me. And as long as I have internet connection, I'm good. And that's freed me up to really focus on this.
That is so cool. So I love the way that you just kept that passion thing going on the side, even through your busy medical years. It's interesting though, because I find a lot of people hit midlife and they've either let all that go, however, or just been so busy, caught up with, families and careers and whatever else, that they just couldn't have time to fit it in, whereas you consciously kept it a part of your life, which is fantastic. So what advice would you have then, someone who's hitting midlife, who's thinking, A, I'd like to maybe pick it up, or B, dust it off, but either way, who are thinking, could they try something new? Was that something you had to get your head around? Was it something scary to step out and pursue?
Sure, because I was learning on the fly, like,
Yeah.
oh, I need a production company. Yes, you need that, and you need this and this and this. And I'm like, okay. So I had to go ahead and do it. I mean,
Yeah.
so I was learning as I was going, but I was determined to see the project through, to
Mm-hmm.
say, I think I can do this. And it was basically a challenge that I gave myself.
Yeah.
I think part of it is that you just have to challenge yourself. And if you fail, you fail. It's okay.
Yeah.
It's not always about, right, the end result. It's about the journey.
Oh,
And
I love that. Yeah, that's
not
good.
having not having regret.
Yeah.
So for a lot of my years, I worked with AIDS patients, and I
Mm-hmm.
saw a lot of people die young
Yeah.
before they had a chance to do these things. And the one lesson that whole experience taught me was that life is short. You never know when your number is going to be called. Do not know. And so I just wanted to not live with regret. With regret that, oh, I wish I had done that, but I didn't do it.
Yes.
Especially for the things I really, really enjoyed. And I always enjoyed writing, and of course, I enjoy performing. And I've gotten into directing as well in theater. And so those are skills that you need in filmmaking. And I wasn't sure that I could do that, to be
Mm.
honest with you. I really
Yeah.
wasn't.
It's true, isn't it? You start out on this journey, so you take the risk, but ultimately it's like you said, you can't hinge everything on succeeding, because you may not, but you will have learned and grown and developed. And have you found that it's kept you sharp, learning all these new skills?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's got me wanting to do more.
Yeah.
So I was in a play for a couple of months, and a friend of mine, because he knew I had made this film, he said, there's this media organization, they're giving a class for seniors, and it was a 4-week class. And I was like, you know what? They're going to teach me something about film software that I don't know anything about. And so I went ahead and did it. And I learned so much
Yeah.
about movie making software and editing, and how you can put together your own little film. And the teacher had this idea about dreams and memories. So I came up with an idea. And so I made this little 2-minute film, and it just got accepted to a film festival in Dublin as an
Wow.
experimental short.
Wow, congratulations.
Oh,
And
thank
that's
you.
that's all from you just stepping out, putting yourself somewhere that was potentially uncomfortable because you didn't know anything about filmmaking, and look at the results you're getting. This is so encouraging for other people to hear that, yeah, you can take risks.
And
Look what follows.
and I mean, the most important thing I would think is to do something that you enjoy.
Yeah.
But after that, um, just try to learn from your mistakes, or learn from other people's expertise.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
you just put yourself out there, you learn new stuff, and sometimes we just do it just for the satisfaction of learning something new. I think that's
Yeah.
really important. We're always so focused on our career or our kids that that's what we're experts at. but there's so much more in the world to
Yes.
experience, and you just have to open yourself up to it.
I love that. Yes, you're absolutely right. And I just had a thought while you were speaking then too. It's something I used to say when I was coaching midlifers who would go, I know I want to do something, but I don't know what. And that's exactly what I used to say to them. Go do some workshops. Take the pressure off yourself. You don't have to sign up for a year of art classes or a year-long writing thing. Just go do one-off workshops, try a few different things, meet a few different people, because you don't know what you don't know, do you? And
Right.
you get into one of those environments and it's like, this is something I actually enjoy. This is something I could see me going into. But if you stay sequestered in your house in the same routine you've always had for the last 20 years, you're not going to get to experience new things, are you? Is this the same old,
No,
same old?
you'll just shrivel up and dry out.
And that was a medical
You'll
term
turn
there.
into a raisin.
Okay, so one thing you also said that I think was really important for people was that, you went and you sought financial advice and you sat down and you looked at everything practically as well. So it wasn't like I'm going to throw away everything at midlife and go join the circus. You sat down, you did your homework, and you worked out how to do it while still keeping a living and everything. Lessons that you learned through this for people, like what suggestions would you have for people who are thinking, okay, I like what you did there. How could I start to change my life where I can follow a passion project?
Get advice. I really think that that's what helped me. Get advice. And if you're not in a position to do it right now, then set a plan in motion so that in 5 years, you're working toward that thing that you're looking forward to. We love looking forward to the future. Part of the way I dealt with the stress of being a doctor was always looking forward to vacation.
Right. Yes.
So plan that vacation 3, 4, 6 months in advance, and then you have something that you're working toward. And when it finally comes, you're going to really enjoy it. And the same thing is true of this kind of discovery. And to at least dabble in these things and to try to test out your preferences, it's not expensive.
Yeah,
It
that's
really
true.
isn't. And you don't need a year commitment.
So your example, I think, is just lovely for so many people because, like we've already said, you were a medical person, you had probably your business head on and your scientific head on, and yet over here is your caring, compassionate, creative side that you threw into still keeping that going. And at midlife, obviously, you're able to really develop that, and that's fabulous. But I think also it's amazing how doing what you've done, you're learning, your brain is still staying engaged and staying sharp. You're building friendships, so important to long-term well-being. And you've been creative and expressive. You're giving back to other people. So there's purpose in that. It's not just all about you creating your art, but you're giving to others. And it really does tick a whole lot of boxes, doesn't it, for well-being in our midlife years and beyond. Okay, so what would be a really strong takeaway that you would want listeners to know if they're nervous about stepping out, about pursuing a passion project? What would be the one thing you'd love them to walk away with from our conversation?
Don't let anyone talk you out of it.
Oh, that's powerful, including
Uh,
yourself, right?
including yourself. And you never have to show anyone what you create if you don't choose to. It can just be that exercise of inner wisdom for yourself. If that's how you want it, that's fine. There's no pressure to then expose all of your deepest secrets to the world. You don't have to do that. But it's just so good for your psyche to have support in pursuing those things. And so, yeah, if you want to paint watercolors, then you're going to be at an easel and your partner is going to end up bringing over sandwiches for you because you don't have time to make them yourself. That's support. That's
Yeah,
what you need.
yeah.
And so the main thing is not to let anyone talk you out of it.
Well, Ross, thank you so much for sharing your story. And I think it's a story that will be so accessible by so many people. They'll be able to put themselves in it. because midlife is that season where many of us actually suddenly find we've got that space to explore. We've got that little bit more time to do something with, and it's also that time of of reflection, isn't it? So are there things that I want to dust off and start doing, or are there new things I want to start doing? So I really appreciate you sharing your story, which is a lovely, and please don't, this is not said in a disparaging way at all. It's a lovely, ordinary story of an ordinary bloke who went out and created something fantastic with his world. And I think that's what my ordinary people, the ordinary listeners, us regular people who aren't these Insta famous whatevers or magazine stars, that ordinary people can actually create extraordinary lives by being brave and stepping out and following their heart. And I really, really appreciate you sharing that with us today.
It's been my pleasure.
Thanks, Ross. Well, thank you everybody for tuning in to another episode of the Rocking Midlife podcast. Ross's story, I'm sure, has touched so many of you listening in. So please go and check out his links. I'll be posting all of them on the show notes and under the YouTube channel and everywhere. So you can go and follow Ross and keep an eye out for that cartoon, that animation, sorry, cartoon's the wrong word, for that animated movie, Chris the Cat. We're looking forward to seeing that. So remember, keep rocking midlife, and I will see you next time.